Hello guys, and welcome back to another video. In this video I'm going to be talking about a Hun start in Deathmatch. This video is going to be for intermediate players, so I'm going to be continuing from I'm going to be starting off where I left off in the last video, and I'm going to be talking about some new things here for players that have mastered the basics to Deathmatch. So here is a game between me and or True and I, and he's going to help illustrate the topics that I talk about in this video. So what we're going to talk about first is building layout. Alright, and the first thing I want to highlight here is his placement of the buildings here. So you'll notice that he builds the buildings one tile away from each other, and he even builds it one tile away from the town center, which I'm not sure if that's what he intended to do here, but um, the big thing is he's building the buildings one tile away. And what we call this is we call it the grid layout. And the reason why we do the grid layout like this is that it helps protect your villagers from enemy raids. Um, Basically, it's going to make it harder for enemies to see your villagers because they're going to be like once these buildings are built, the enemy's not going to be able to see villagers like this behind the buildings. They'll still see like the highlight of it, but they won't see the actual like physical part of the villager. So it makes it a little bit tougher for them to pick apart units. And then also what's going to happen is once you have military coming out of these buildings, they're going to kind of clog up the pathways here. And so if like an enemy paladin's coming in from over here, right, it's going to struggle to be able to get in here because of the tight formation. So you'll see here, he's adding more buildings, right? And he's building one tile away, right? One tile away, one tile away. And look how good of a job he does. Here's a little bit of a, whatever. But you don't have to be perfect. Don't, it's if you're practicing offline against AI and trying to get it like perfect like this, that's one thing. In a real game, if you make a mistake, if it's not perfect like this, it's not the end of the game. So don't feel bad or anything like that. It happens all the time. Some players are top deathmatch players and they suck at doing the layout, but it's an important thing, nonetheless, to practice. So yeah, you see my scout coming in here, and yeah. Um, Anyways, the next thing I wanted to talk about was building orders. So the order in which you build your building. So for these guides, I'm just talking about a standard start with the Huns. I'm not talking about market. I'm not talking about, crazy strategies like building 10 barracks and then, that type of stuff, right? This is just really standard, and this is what you're going to see from most players. So what you're going to want to do if you're doing the standard start is build the stables first, which you can see he built, the stables first with the first 3 villagers, right? And he's building his 4th one here. And then you want to build the barracks, which again, you can see the other villagers here are on the barracks. And then finally you want to build the ranges. And the reason I want to do this is eventually, after you've gotten better at like, doing the grid layout and, queuing units and stuff like that, you are going to start raiding with paladins. All right. And so that's why you want to make the stables first, is so you can get the paladins out so you can go raid the enemy. The barracks come second because if the enemy is raiding you with paladins, you want something that's going to kill the paladins, quickly. And paladins don't really kill other paladins very quickly. It takes them a while to kill them, and cav archers take forever to kill paladins. So in low numbers, so you're going to want to build the barracks second. That way you can have halberdiers to kill the paladins when they come with the raid. And then finally, cavalry archers, which again they're not really effective in like small numbers, but once you mass them, after a while, then they're better. So hopefully that makes sense. And the other thing is make sure you just queue the buildings all the way to 15. True queues them to 10 because of a more advanced strategy. And you can go ahead and do that if you really feel like it, but for simplicity's sake, queuing to 15 is okay as well. So later on we'll talk about why you might want to queue it to 10 instead of 15, but for now in this video, just if you're just practicing, just do 15. So anyways, you see coming in here raiding. I'm not going to talk a whole lot about what he's doing here to defend versus the raid. We'll talk about that in a later video, but yeah. So barracks are being made, and again, he's making all the barracks first. He's not even making a single range right now. All right, now he's finally making a range, but he's all the rest of the barracks are being built already. So So the next thing I want to talk about is the uh, queuing the buildings like this. So it's kind of tough to demonstrate, I guess, watching a recording. But the way you queue the buildings quickly, you guys might already know it, but what you're going to do is you're going to hold shift. You're going to hold shift. You're going to click on a building, and then you're going to press the hotkey for the unit you're creating. So if I'm creating halberdiers, for me, the hotkey for halberdiers is S. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold shift. I'm going to click on the barracks, and then I'm going to press S. So if I was pressing S right now, it would be queuing up halberdiers if this wasn't a recording. All right. Then what I'm going to do is, after that, I'm going to click on the next building, right? And now that I've selected this building, this is the building that's going to get queued out of when I press the hotkey, right? So again, I'm going to keep holding shift, and then press S to queue halberdiers. All right, now say the next building I click on is the stable, right? I'm still holding shift this whole time, because if I wasn't holding shift, then it would just go like this. It would just select the stable, right? And you can do that and then just hold shift again, but why let go of shift in the first place if you just have to hold it the whole time? So anyways, back to here, S, 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 holding shift the whole time, S, 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 stable. Now for me, I don't want to be creating paladins, so I'd press A, right? And that's my hotkey for paladin. I'd press it 3 times, right? You can you can spam it if you want. I think that you should practice being accurate and not just like mashing your keyboard because that'll help you later on. But yeah, AA. So I just press it 3 times or 2 times or whatever. And then back to the barracks, SSS, back to the stable, AAA. This whole time I'm just holding shift, right? One thing that you might run into a problem with, don't click on the town center, because if you click on the town center, then for whatever reason that messes you up with your hotkeys. So don't click on the town center. It doesn't work that way. But with the military buildings it does. So I'm just rambling on at this point. Hopefully that makes sense. And yeah, I would just queue 15 units. Don't worry about it. You'll see here. It queues 5 units every time, so. And don't think multi-queue works, because it doesn't, so don't try it. So watch, he'll queue 15 really fast. It's just groups of 5s. That's why I needed 10. 15, 15. Here we go. Oh, there he's got it better. And we can kind of just speed it up here. He's doing the ranges. You see him queue 15 really fast. Let's go, man! There he goes, 10. I mean, it doesn't really matter if you have 15 in there as long as you queue some in there, right? If you go back to it later, then it's fine. All right, and now he's adding town centers, stuff like that. We're not going to talk about town centers even in this playlist. We'll talk about that later on. That's going to be our next part, but again, we're just focused on massing army. So just a recap of what you learned in this video. One thing, keep the grid layout. It's going to help defend, right? Look at all these paladins in here. They got like nowhere to go. It's like, how can you even see where the villagers are at? If you have my point of view, right? I can't see anything, right? The villagers are back here hidden. There's like 50 military units here and they're blocking the paths. So that's why you're going to keep the grid layout and keep it nice and tight. I think I do a pretty good job myself. If you look, you can see here I do a pretty good job as well. You can do the stone walls in here, but that might just mess you up more than it helps you. I think it probably messed me up more here than it helped me. So, um, yeah, look at this. This is a noob right here. I have this range out here. Not even close to the other ones. It's really noob. But yeah, so grid formation, build order. Remember, if you're doing standards, stables, barracks, ranges, and then lastly queuing. Hold shift, press the building, press the hotkey, and just keep holding shift the whole way. All right. So I think that's gonna do it for this video. I just can't help myself. I just have to ramble for like 5 minutes at least every video. So forgive me. But if this video is really bad, then just tell me to remake it. But whatever. Yeah, so hopefully I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.